Good morning. So the good news is that we are not going to stay after 11 at night tonight. But I heard that was I heard some feedback that it was actually very excited yesterday, and people stayed longer than usual, and I'm very happy with that. Hopefully, we'll have today some even more interesting day and a little bit of more. Many of the aspects that we spoke about yesterday. So what does it mean? So what do we do, right? And I would like to touch base on many of those. And so what does it mean to build the right DNA? What does it mean to build? How do we do product market fit? What are these phases of evolution that we would like to go through? I captured yesterday a couple of questions that. Something about how do we build a simple business model, and something else that actually Noga asked me last night. So what does it mean aligning all the stars in a single line? And what happens? So how is that possible that you align one star at that place? So I'll go back to those slides. I think I have them someplace here. So this one, right? So let's say that we got the product market fit in place, and now we are starting to deal with something else, right? So let's go to user growth and globalization, and it's very possible that meanwhile we are losing the original slide, the original star, right? The original product market fit, and I'll give you an example. So we started, and initially we were focusing on the drivers and providing them with, with the best experience that we can figure out, and later on we moved into a business model, right? And so we added advertisement on top of the application. And during the different trials that we did with the advertisement, we actually started to lose users because they didn't like it, or it was too overwhelming in terms of advertisement, or too annoying. And so we actually lost the product market fit to a certain extent. Or it happens to us as well with different startups, that you start to go to a different market, right? So you're figuring out globalization. You go to a new market, which is dramatically bigger than the original market, and you figure out that you need to do adjustment to the product in order to fit the actual needs in the new market. And all of a sudden you lose the original market because you're not good enough there anymore. And these things happen. And when you're in the process of trying to align all those and actually have all of them in a straight line, then you need to keep watching all the time those that you already aligned and already figured out, that you're not losing them. So this is one question. The simple business model, I'll touch base on that later, but essentially we might take, if you want to bring up an example, then I can show you based on your example. If not, I'll use one of my startups for that. And the idea is that you figure out the value of a single user, you figure out the total addressable market, and then you basically say, okay, I'm going to reach in 5 years 10% or 15% of the total addressable market. And if this is the value of a single user, then I have now the number of users, and now I'm going backwards and I'm saying, okay, this is in 5 years, then in 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and obviously nothing. The figures for the first year are very, very small. And part of the reason is that if you will make them significant and you will show that to an investor, the investor will say, okay, I'm going to wait and see, right? If the figures are going to be small in the first year, then there's nothing to wait and see there. So going back, and again, I'll create that on the board later. So going back to the practical day, or the more practical day, product market fit, go-to-market strategy, and then we'll have people and DNA, CEO and leadership, some examples of hardships throughout the journey, and all the startups, all the startups in the world, are going through hardship periods of time, right? Because it's very hard. And at the end of the day, it's every time that you face a major issue, that's like climbing a wall, right? And sometimes you would say, okay, you're going to climb the wall, and this is a very sleek wall, and we're going to pour some oil on top of that, and now we're going to climb the wall, right? So it's going to be more and more and more challenging, and as soon as you're successful in this one, you're going to face the next one, which might be even harder. And so we'll discuss some examples of that, some startup failures, and then I will finish this morning. Actually, it's not going to be morning anymore, but when I'm done, we'll discuss a little bit about transportation and the future of urban mobility, because traffic jams are not going to become easier, right? So every year, the number of cars in Porto Alegre increased by 10% a year. The investment in infrastructure, or the total area of roads, increased by less than that. So this year, traffic jams are more severe than they were last year, and next year it's going to be even more severe. And if we don't do anything about it, then the future is not bright, and we will need to take care of that. So product market fit, right? So essentially what we're trying to do is create consistent value to the users, consistent, repeated value to the users, right? So, and at the beginning, it seems to be, so what's the big deal here, right? The big deal is doing that. That's the big deal. And we already agree that when we launch a product that is not ready, that is not good enough, in order for us to learn faster. So we launch as soon as we can, even with a bad product. So the whole journey is taking a product that sucks into a product that is good enough. We don't need to be perfect. The biggest enemy of good enough is perfect. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to be good enough. And this is the whole thing, the journey from getting a product that is not ready to a product that is ready. Now, here's the major problem of that. So just defining, let's say that we have a product that is being used on a regular basis, so not once a year, right? Or not, find me a good doctor, right? Good doctor you need to find once a year, or once in your lifetime, or once every few years. This is a product that we don't expect people to come back. We expect to generate a lot of value for the people, but not necessarily to come back frequently. But if you think of services that people are expected to use on a regular basis, then we want them to come back and keep on using that. And with the key indicator will be that they are actually stay. So if I will set for something, I would say I would like 30% of the users that have used this product for the first time today to keep on using it 3 months from now. That will be actually a pretty good number. So 30% retention after 90 days of usage would be a pretty good number. I can measure that, I can convert that into MAU or into different metrics that we would like to measure. But essentially the idea is that there is clear indications that people are coming back. If they're not coming back, then essentially what happened is that we need to bring a new user. Meanwhile, we lost the existing users, and we keep on investing in new users, and we keep on losing them, right? So revolving doors, or trying to bring water with a strain, right? So you lose all the water on the way, and it's becoming useless. And so the phase of product market fit is actually repairing the holes in this strain that we can actually bring the users and keep them. So waze requires critical mass, but also all the marketplaces requires critical mass, right? You need to have enough sellers, enough inventory. And essentially what you do is that you cheat. You figure out different ways to fill the inventory at the beginning, so people actually have a good experience until you have enough users, and then the inventory will come by itself. So you figure out different ways to fill the gap. Some of them would be, let's say that you essentially try, if it's a marketplace, you actually buy inventory. You buy and sell inventory. You buy that at the market, you sell that at a discounted price. You lose money by doing that, but essentially what you're trying to do is you figure out the product. And other ways to measure that, by the way, is that people recommend other people. So today, one of the key metrics that is being used, the Net Promoting Score, which is essentially saying how much people are recommending you to other friends. And this is very important, right? So 100 means that 100% of the people are actually recommending that to other people, and minus 100 means that 100% of the users are telling other people, don't touch that, right? And obviously you would like to be in a highest positive number as possible. In general, I would say above 50 is actually a pretty good number. So I want for a second to look at the user segmentation. You probably have seen that. Right, so we have here innovators, which is really small percentage of the population, maybe 2%. Right, and then we have the early adopters, which are about 15%. Something that I will call the chasm. This is very hard to break, moving from early adopters into early majority, late majority, and people that will never use whatever we are doing, right? So Neverland. And this applies in different products or different segments. It applies differently, right? So people that their major hobby is football, right? Then if there is a football application, they might be the first one to use. They will be here. Even though that in their nature, they might be here, right? So maybe on different things, they don't behave like that, but in particular areas, they do behave like that. Now, this is very important. When we build our business model, when we build our story, when we build everything, we are thinking of this segment. But in reality, the first users that we will have will be here. And so we are building maybe the product for here, but the experience that we are gaining at the beginning is actually from this portion. A little bit of perception of what does it mean to be in a different segment. Innovators will try something new because it's new, not because anything else. It's new, it's exciting, they care about the fact that it's new and they're the first one to use that. It's even unclear to them what exactly it does, and it doesn't matter. Early adopters are the one that understands the value, and they are not afraid to try something new. This is very important because this segment, the early majority, they understand the value, and they're afraid of something new. They are not. Yes, you might. You definitely might need to retune back your product market fit. So, and by my nature, I actually belong to the early majority, not to the innovators. And this is kind of surprising because I'm building products, new products all the time, but in my nature, I actually belong to the early majority. So if there is something new, I understand the value, I'm not going to use that. I would need someone to guide me and show me how to use that for the first time, because otherwise I would say, you know what, I'm used to what I'm doing right now. Don't confuse me with the facts, right? So don't confuse me with something new. We don't even know how these people looks like. So whatever you'll say, I'll say we are not even there yet, right? So Facebook with 2 billion users, it's here. Google Internet with 3.5 billion users on the globe, it's still here. So obviously in some countries it's already here, right? So mobile phones is definitely here. Not here, by the way. Here, there are still people that don't even have a mobile phone. It's not because they cannot afford it. Simply, they might be older people. They might be people that don't believe in that technology, or they are concerned or different reason, and they are not using that. So in general, yes, we will get there eventually, but not that fast. It might take few decades before we are here. It might take 10 years to get here. So when we are speaking about showing a business model that speaks about reaching 10-15% of the population, we tend to think that we are, absolutely everyone is using that, right? Not exactly, only those. And here in between, we might need to redo product market fit. So some metrics that we would like to measure, and this is this is very important. Really, you would like to know what's going on the system, and you would like to see any change in the numbers before you're going to ask the people for the real questions, for the different questions. So if you have excellent metrics and you measure everything out of your system, every change you would see. You launch a new product, and the day after, or a new version, and the day after, you would notice that some of the metrics change. Some of them change, become better, some of them become worse. And as soon as you do that, you learn faster by figuring out, okay, this is what I've done, and this is the result, right? Now I'm going to fix that, or I'm going to redo that, or I'm going to do better than that. So some of the key general key performance indicators would be around users and usage and growth and so forth. Some marketing will be around user acquisition cost, and for a second I would say during the period of time of product market fit, we don't care about marketing cost. We don't need to optimize that number. We don't care if this is expensive or inexpensive to bring new users because we need just few of them. The product are the more important thing. The product are the figures and the numbers that we need to measure during the product market fit. And the way that we are improving is improving those numbers, right? So that will be around conversion from someone that downloads the app to someone that is using the app, or someone that is using the app in this level to someone that is using the app this level. Increase usage, increase value that we generate to the users, and obviously eventually increase retention as a result of that. And let me give you an example. So obviously we at Waze, we figure out that the value to the users is that we can help drivers to avoid traffic jams, right? Now, in order to do that, you need to drive with the application because conditions might change. And you need to tell the application where you're going. So we need to have a route for you that will tell you your estimated time of arrival, and if there are different routes or different alternatives or different things happen along the route, it will tell you that. What we find out is that there are other use cases. So people might be, invoking the application, asking for the route, figuring out how long it's going to take them and what's the route, and then turning off the application. Not exactly the use case that we expected, but a lot of people are doing that. So for us, we deliver them value. Obviously, they're using the application, so obviously we do deliver value, but not the full value that we could. Or we have seen many users that are actually invoking the application and driving with the application on, but with no route. And so they will get alert and they will see traffic jams as they happen, but not necessarily someone calculating the fastest route for them. Anyone here has done one of the two of the other use cases, right? So of course, right? And what we find out is that this is not insignificant number. 1/3 of the users are not driving with a route. They're driving either without the route or not driving at all. They're figuring out the route before and not using them. So creating more value is part of product market fit. By the way, different by cultures, different by countries. Sometimes we were able to correlate that into expensive data plans. Sometimes we were able to correlate that to different countries, different behaviors. The funnel is the tool to improve the product. And so I want you to imagine a funnel that at the top of the funnel, what we have is the total addressable market, so all the users. Whoever downloads the app, or if this is an app, right, or starting or going into the website, if this is a website, or actually demonstrating clear indication that they are going to use the product, is entering into the funnel, right, so downloading the app. Out of those that downloads the app, not everyone is going to use that. So how many apps do you have on your phone that you haven't used at all, right? Someone told us, oh, you should download this app, and we did, and then what? And it's still there, right? At the end of the day, you might have on your phones, items are organized or application organized by categories. If not, then you have the first page and the second page and the third page and so forth. When is the last time that you have used an application that is not on the top two pages? Not very often. So that means that many of them you download and you're not using. So from download to register, assume that you need people to register. Not everyone is. Not everyone is going to register. Sometimes you download the app, you start the app, it tells you, okay, give me your phone number, right? What do you want, right? Why do you need a phone number? I don't even know what the app is doing. And you're already asking for my phone number, or you're already asking for different permission, right? Or you're asking for information that it's unclear for me that I would like to give that to you. And so I say, I shut down the app, and this is it, right? And so you would count me when someone will ask you, so how many users do you have? You would count me as a user, but I'm not. I haven't completed the registration. And then after that, used once and got value, right? Not necessarily you're getting value out of that. So imagine Angie for a second, right? The value of Angie is that it will tell you that if you have this problem in your car, this is what it means, and this is how much it's going to cost you to fix that in different mechanics around you, right? But what if you don't have an issue right now? And so you would download the app, you would register the car model and make, and you would use that, and we will tell you, oh, this is fuel consumption, and this is different things, but everything is okay with the car, right? So maybe there is some value by us telling you that everything is okay with the car, but the real value of the ability to find out what's going on when there are something wrong and to get a price quotation for that is only happens later in the phase. And maybe by the time you'll have that, you'll forget that you have the app. And at the bottom of the funnel, we have retained users, people that are keep on coming back, and they are very important for us. They're very important for us because of two reasons. One, they are the one that generates value for us on our business model, right? So in most cases, our business model will be based on usage and not on users. And so those that are keep on coming back, their usage is dramatically higher. This is one part. The other part is that we say that we can only become market leader if we eventually have word of mouth. If people telling other people, oh, you should download this app, or you should use this app. If you're coming back, every time that you're coming back and getting value, it's a new opportunity for you to tell other people. Now, so I marked what is the likelihood of moving from one phase to another phase here. And obviously that might be different, and obviously you might have different phases in the funnel because the process is different, because the product is different, because of whatever, right? So from download into registration, between 60 to 80% of the people will do that. From registration into using it once, 40 to 80%. From using once to actually getting value, between 10 to 40%. From getting value into keep on getting value, between 20 to 50%, right? So each one of them is a major barrier. Now, if you multiply all those, what you actually get is somewhere between 0.5% to maybe 13% of the people that downloaded the app are actually returning users. Now, this is not exactly the number that we expected, right? So we thought that, okay, so people download the app and this is it, right? No, that's just the beginning of the journey. There are two ways to address that. And so something that is very, very critical. We sitting in our lab, we build our product. We know what the product is supposed to do. We know how exactly it's supposed to do that. And obviously when we use that, that's a very simple product for us to use. We build it, it's simple for us. But the next user is going to be a new user. It's the first time that they see that. It's not easy for them. Whatever we think is obvious is not obvious when you've run into that for the first time. We think that it's pretty clear what the product's supposed to do and how exactly the user should be getting to the value, right? Maybe. Most likely not. And so the most important users that we have are actually the first-time users. Because when they fail, we can learn something that otherwise we cannot. We cannot become first-time. We cannot have a first-time experience for the second time. We can only have that once in our lifetime. And so we need to keep on bringing users for the first time. And most of the users out there are for the first time, right? So we are in the early phase. We already have 300 users, right? And there are still 3 billion users out there. So most likely the next user is going to be someone that never heard about what we are doing. And we want to see their first time user experience so we can improve on that. And that will probably impact on the phase of from download to register, or what I call conversion, converting them into using the product. Now, sometimes we're telling ourselves, okay, but this is obvious, right? This is straightforward. Then bring some new users and see what they're doing. And all of a sudden, you would realize that this is not obvious. And this is not trivial for new people, that this is the first time that they're running into that. In many cases, it's much more complex than that. In many cases, we tend to believe that we have explained beautifully what they should be doing, and we are not. Our explanations are beautiful for us that we read them over and over and over and over again, and we keep on working on the same product over and over and over again. And it's pretty straightforward for us, but not necessarily for a new user. The most important user that we have in this funnel are those that failed. So those that are down here, that means that they haven't faced the barriers. None of those issues was a barrier for them. They were successfully downloading, registering, used once, understand the value, and keep on using that. They don't know anything new because they follow what we thought is going to happen. But everyone else, those that actually haven't registered, they know something that we don't know. They know why. And this is exactly what we would like to do. We would like to go out and speak with the users that download the app and did not register, and understand why they did not register. Now, this is a very hard phase because we don't even know how to reach out to them, but let's forget that for a second. We want to understand why they did not register. And then we can decide, okay, should we change the product? Should we change the flow? Should we change the explanation why they should be registered? Should we realize that this is it and forget about it? What exactly are we going to do with this feedback? But if we don't know why, we cannot fix that. We don't know what to fix. And then they registered, but they're not using it, or they used it once and they didn't get the value, or they did get the value and didn't come back. Each one of those phases, those that fail, they have an answer to our journey. They can tell us why they failed. Without that, we are not making progress. Without that, we are making guesses, and every time we change a bunch of things, and hopefully this time it's better. Systematic approach to address that. You can do the most significant gate as the first one. So if the drop that you have, if from here to here you actually have less than 10%, let's deal with that first. And if from here to here you have 75%, you might say, for now it's good enough, I'm not going to deal with that. And the different approach is to take one step at a time. So we start from here to here, and then from here to here, and then from here to here. Usually I've seen companies taking the most significant improvement first, right? So if here you have a major gap, starts with that. If here you have a major gap, starts with that. But at the end of the day, the bottom of the funnel yield is the multiplication of all those, right? So if you improve one of those gates by 5x, the bottom line is going to improve by 5x. Now, if you're at 80%, it's very hard to improve that by 5x, right? But if you're in 10%, you can actually improve that by 5x. And so figuring out which one of the gates and where exactly we are failing is the most important part in this analysis of the product market fit. And you keep on doing iteration after iteration, and every time you bring new users in order to learn, and every time you ask the people that failed, why? So iteration after the iteration, I think we discussed all that. So some of the approaches are actually different, and I'll show you some. So let's say that you need registration. For different reasons, you need registration. And by the way, I would claim that you probably not. But ask yourself, do I really need registration? Who cares? Who cares about registration? Users don't, right? The fact that they, in the days of the computer, then we said, okay, you might be using that from a different computers, but in the days of the smartphones, download the app and use that, right? If you lose your phone, then re-download the app to the new phone and keep on using that. In most cases, there is not relevant information. There's not even important information that we would like to keep. So maybe we don't need registration. Another approach, who says that registration has to happen at the beginning? What if I go back to the funnel and I put registration phase after you got value? So the flow is easier until you get value. Now you have an incentive to register. So maybe a registration is not the first thing, even though that logically it sounds like, okay, first of all, I need to register you. Why is that? In most cases, when you start to think about it, you realize that in most cases, when you start a registration, you don't really need that. You don't really need registration. And you figure out that you can actually do that after they're starting to use that. And so removing phases definitely improve the yield of the funnel, right? Because all of a sudden, in this phase, 100% of the people are going through. There is no phase. And so maybe changing the order of the phases, maybe putting registration after we really need that. So a lot of applications that you essentially need to make a transaction there, asking you to register and provide email and password. Why do you need password even? I don't know. You don't need password. You don't need password for anything. I mean, in an app on your mobile phone, if this is not going into your bank account, you don't need password. So let's say that you don't have a user ID and password on Waze. So what's going to happen? Someone else is going to steal your phone and get the points instead of you. So what? Who cares? So let's say that the app is about making transaction, and so you need credit card information. And most of the application will say, okay, so first of all, register and give me your credit card information and so forth. But I'm not even sure that I'm going to like this use of that. I don't want to give my credit card information. This is something that is a major barrier for a lot of people. So why not asking for the credit card information when you are about to do a transaction or to complete the transaction? So move that phase later. And this is dramatic. This is very, very important because you start by losing people instead of creating value for them. Ask those who failed. This is the most critical part. We cannot understand. We as builder of the service, of the application, of whatever it is, we cannot understand why people fail. We need to ask them why. And if we don't, then we keep, we are not expanding our knowledge. We don't learn anything new. And if we don't learn anything new, then we do not improve. First-time user experience, it can only happen one time, once in our lifetime. So as soon as you, and I mentioned earlier that I belong to the early majority and not to the innovators or not to the early adapters. So a lot of friends from time to time would come and say, okay, I want you to check this app. And so I go and download the app. That far I know. I know how to search for an app and download the app. And I usually would try to start that. And then I don't do anything because I didn't understand what it does. And one of the apps asked me to access my my calendar, and I didn't know why they need to access my calendar, or they want to do different things, and I don't even know. I don't even understand why. And so the underlying assumption is that people know what the app is doing, but it's not. Many of the apps that people told you to download, you're not sure what they're doing and what exactly they're doing and how they're doing that. And if you are early majority, then you are afraid. It's something new. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know why they require us to have my phone number or my credit card or access to my diary or different things, or asking, how many of you have registered to an app with a Facebook. So a lot of people would say, I don't know what they're going to do with my Facebook. I don't want that, right? Now, obviously, you can read in many places to figure out that Facebook will not even allow them to actually have proactive access to your account, right? So it's only for registration. But you don't know that as a user. And so I don't know the app to write something on my wall. And most people, this is what they believe, right? So they're not going to do that. And so they eventually sign up with with a fake email address or email address that they're using for spam or something like that, and this is it. And so everyone loses when you don't tell the user that you're not going to use their Facebook or that you're not going to do that. If we think they understand, they don't. So if we don't tell them, they don't know. Now the problem is that we are not going to tell them with a long list of things that we are going to do and not do, because then they would quit because of we are harassing them, right? This is too much information, which is not good either. Figuring out the right copy, the right things to say to the user in each one of the phases is an art that requires iteration after iteration after iteration. A problem. So we build a product for early majority, but we don't get to see the early majority of the users at the beginning. Or in our dream, we build a product for early majority. But in reality, the users that we have at the beginning are innovators and early adopters. And what it means is that things that will eventually become a barrier seems to be straightforward at the beginning. And so if you're an innovator, you will figure out different things. You will figure out exactly how to use the app. You will figure out many things that if you are early majority, you might not. And if you are early majority, you are not going to do. And if you are early adopters, you might not be able to figure them out. And so this is very important. We dream about the early majority, and we build a product that is going to be simple enough. And we build a product that for people that will tell us, but we want more features, or we need more features, right? So early days of NG is a very interesting example because the group of people that their hobby is actually cars is actually a relatively large group of people. So a lot of people, they have interest in their cars. A lot of people don't care. This is a piece of metal that is responsible to take me from one place to another place. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people that care. And so the initial users, the feedbacks that we have heard, but we would like also to see the RPMs display on the app, right? And we can do that because we connect to the car computer. We can actually take all the information from the car computer and do different things for that. But most people don't care. And so all the time, the real work of the product manager is not to add feature. It actually makes the important features easier to access. So sometimes I would say remove features. This is even better than adding features. I would even say, as a practice, remove a feature, and if people scream, then put it back. If they don't scream, then keep it out. And this is, you don't think about it as a good practice, right? You think, okay, product manager, they need to create more and more and more features to make the product better. Better means that we have better adoption funnel, that we have higher retention. And sometimes it's simply by simplifying things and removing features and removing capabilities. So there was one feature that we removed on the waze, and then people screamed, and we brought it back, and this is the speedometer on the app. And so we thought that this is important features, and then we realized that, but there is one in the car, right? Why do we need another one? And so we removed that, and people screamed, and so we brought it back. The idea that we will say, okay, you know what, we're going to make that optional feature, right? So you can go into the setup where there is a list of 500 different parameters, and you can say, I would like this feature or not. No one is going there. No one. is going into the setup, right? So whatever you're going to set the default is the real thing, right? So if this is the case, then why do you need to build an option for that? If you already decided what's the default, that's it. You don't need a setup parameter for that. You only need a setup parameter when you already reached product market fit and you're starting to add more features, that you basically say, what I really want to happen is that for existing users, nothing change. Right? So you add a new feature, all the people that upgrade their version from here to here, nothing changed for them. Because a change, people don't like changes. For new users, they have the new feature. Right? That's the default for them is yes, the default for those is no. And then everyone is happy. Then you can actually measure different groups and basically say, okay, you know what, we figure out that the usage here is higher than the usage here. So the new feature increase usage. Or maybe it's the other way around, right? Usage of the previous one without the new feature is higher than the usage of the users with the new feature. And if this is the case, then you should remove that feature, right? So next version, this feature default is going to be off. You measure everything in order to keep on improving.